What's going on, everyone? Mitesh here, and today I have for you guys a follow-up to my last video where I reviewed the Pixel 4a. And in it, I mentioned the fact that you can get better performing phones for the same price. And in it, I specifically mentioned the OnePlus 7T, which is what I have here with me today. This phone I picked up recently with some of the sales. I actually picked it up used versus new, although I really should just pick it up new because what I paid for this, which is around $280 after taxes, was about the same that I would pay before taxes. It was $300 brand new over the holiday. So this phone is even cheaper than this phone in some instances, and yet I would say that this is going to be a better performer. But that's not the whole story. So in this video, I want to do a little comparison between these two phones to see which one might be the right one for you. So without further ado, let's talk about it. Alright guys, so let's just jump into this comparison. We're going to first off start off by talking about the specs of these two phones. So we have the Pixel 4a here on the left, and that one has a Snapdragon 730G processor. It's got 6 GB of RAM, and it's got 128 GB of UFS 2.1 storage. It is nice to see 128 GB finally available as the base storage and Pixel options, but that is what we have over here. On the right, we have the OnePlus 7T. Now this thing has a Snapdragon 855 Plus. So that is the flagship processor from last year, but it's still really, really good even this year. It's also got 8 GB of RAM, and then it's got 128 GB of UFS 3.0 storage. So in terms of storage, this one's actually a little bit faster. In terms of processor, it's also a little bit faster and more RAM as well. So basically, overall, OnePlus 7T is definitely the performance champ between these two phones. So that one is easy to see. Next up, we're going to go ahead and talk about the displays. Now, I should also mention, neither of these actually have a way to expand your storage. Neither of these will give you that. Now, oh yeah, fingerprint reader. So we actually have one here on the back and one here on the display. I personally like the one on the back more. I'm not a huge fan of in-display fingerprint readers, but they both work actually pretty well. So as long as you get it right in the first place, it works pretty well. I do hate the fact that you have to kind of turn on the screen first on this one to get it. I mean, you do have this always on display if you tap it and then click on it, but here it's like you hear the phone off and just bam, it's on. So just fingerprint reader wise, I personally prefer the Pixel 4a, but the in-display fingerprint reader in the OnePlus 7T works actually pretty well as well. So next up, let's talk about the displays here. And this is one of those things that I definitely think is going to lean towards whatever you guys prefer. So if you prefer a big display, so the OnePlus 7T has a 6.55 inch 1080p AMOLED display that has 90 Hertz built in. So that's pretty awesome. The Pixel 4a, on the other hand, is a 1080p panel as well. It is a much smaller 5.8 inches, and you can really tell when these two are next to each other, just the ridiculous size difference here between the two panels. So if you want a small compact phone, the Pixel 4a has that for you. It is limited to 60 Hertz versus the 90 Hertz on the OnePlus 7T, but I'm gonna be honest, I think if you're not used to having high refresh rate display, it's not really gonna matter that much to you. So in that matter, I don't think it's as big a deal. I think really the thing that it comes down to is what's the screen size you want. You do have notches in both of these, so you've got the cutout here on the Pixel 4a, and it looks pretty nice, the hole punch, but you've got an even smaller notch here on the OnePlus 7T. That little tiny drop down is really hard to even notice in videos, especially since there's no screen above it. It really just feels like there's just a little bit of black area and that's it. So in terms of notches, I actually kind of prefer the OnePlus 7T, and I also like the fact that it's centered versus the left adjusted one on the Pixel 4a, but once again, that's just a little bit of a preference difference. But honestly, I think it's really going to come down to whether you prefer a large screen or you prefer a small screen. And while we're talking about screens, we should also talk about speakers. So I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a little bit of a demonstration of what the speakers sound like that I recorded earlier. So yeah, there you guys have it. I think both of them, the fact that they both have dual speakers is fantastic. So on both of these, they have the top and then the bottom firing ones on both of them, and it's really nice. They both sound actually pretty good to me, but you guys can be the judge of which one sounds better. Next up, let's talk about cameras. And then we're going to start off with, of course, the back, because I do find the rear cameras to be just a little bit more important. And on the Pixel 4a, we've just got that single lonely camera, that 12 megapixel camera that's been around since the Pixel 2, and it is kind of sad that we only get one camera on this. I would love to have seen at least two cameras on this, one being an ultra wide or one being a telephoto. That would have been really nice, but that's all you got is a single camera. Now, I'm not disappointed by the camera at all. If you guys have seen any of my camera videos for the Pixel 4a, it's a really good camera and it lives up to the Pixel name. So you're gonna get great photos out of here and decent video, if not great. So Pixel 4a has you covered in terms of cameras. Over here, we have a triple camera system with the OnePlus 7T. So we've got a 48 megapixel main sensor, which is just okay in terms of photo taking. We've got an ultra wide, which once again, all of these actually are just pretty much okay in terms of photo taking, but they are there if you want a little bit of a different view. And then we also have a 12 megapixel telephoto lens, which is something that's missing in a lot of phones these days, but you do actually have a real telephoto lens in here, so that's pretty nice. And it's a 2x telephoto for this one. So in terms of variety of shots, you're definitely gonna get much more variety out of this one. And this phone can also record 4K 60 frames per second from both the normal and the ultra wide lens, so that is really nice. Actually, I think you can do it from all the lenses, so that's really nice. If you're looking to shoot video, the OnePlus 7T is a better phone, at least in terms of just pure numbers, than the Pixel 4a. Now I will be doing a separate camera comparison between these two, so if you guys want to see that, and make sure you guys hit that subscribe button so you guys don't miss when I upload that. But yeah, we will talk about that a little bit. So if you guys have followed this video so far, you know that the OnePlus 7T is basically winning almost all of these matches, if not tying the Pixel 4a. So why would anybody choose the Pixel 4a unless you want that smaller screen? Well, the answer comes down to software. As you can see just from this screenshot alone, the Pixel 4a is rocking Android 11, whereas the OnePlus 7T is still stuck on Android 10. In fact, OnePlus just announced that they're finally going to start rolling out betas of Android 11 for the OnePlus 7T because they had some issues with decryption or something like that. I don't know what the issue was, but it's kind of sucks as if you're someone who bought this phone last year to see it not get the latest update for at least months on end, whereas this phone got the latest update right away. As soon as Android 11 dropped, this phone had it. So that is one of the nice things about Pixel phones. Now overall, the software on the OnePlus 7T is actually really good. OnePlus software has always been really decent, but yeah, in terms of how long these phones will last for software updates, the Pixel 4a handily wins that one. All right, so there you guys have it. That is a quick little comparison between these two phones, and I do think that these two phones could be right for you depending on what you're into. If you want a phone that's gonna last longer in terms of performance, the OnePlus 7T might be the one to get. If you want something that's going to last a little bit longer in terms of software support and getting updates and things like that, the Pixel 4a is maybe the way to go. There are a lot of other differences between these two, but I think that's an important one, obviously in terms of just pure hardware. If you just want the best feeling hardware, the big screen, the 90 Hz refresh rate screen, the OnePlus 7T is really kind of hard to beat, especially for that price point. It's a really difficult phone to just beat in terms of spec. I definitely think both of these are a good buy depending on what you're looking for. So yeah, with that, that's pretty much it for this video. Like something if you liked it, subscribe if you loved it, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye.